Content warnings for this video game are listed in the podcast description.
And welcome to The Safe Room, a survival horror game club podcast. I'm your co-host, Grace, and with me is the other co-host, Rose.
Vroom. I'm a deadly wheelchair. Vroom.
Vroom.
I'm coming to get you.
I have a screenshot of like the wiki page where it says there's like on the enemies page on SilentHillMemories.net there's a section that says unkillable enemies, and the first one on the list is wheelchair.
I never bothered to fight them, so I didn't know they were unbeatable.
Yeah, well, I think you can kind of like get them out of your way. Like hitting them does something. It can be advantageous.
But I was always just like, that's funny, and then moved to the next one.
Yes. It is good, though, that hallway where in the hospital where there's like a billion doors.
We can't talk about that right now.
It's good.
There's a lot of important stuff in that room I want to get to.
Yeah, well, we're covering this month, we're covering Silent Hill 4, The Room.
The Room.
Which is, the last Japan-developed Silent Hill game up till F.
They did not know how good they had it.
I don't know, yeah, well, we'll see. Anyway. We'll get to it. But yeah, this is also the last. I think this is the last of that team. Mm-hmm. Team Silent, as people say, which is so silly. Yeah. But this has creative continuity with every previous Silent Hill, which is not true of any other Silent Hill to follow, I think. Basically. So that's wild. And I think it's kind of a weird game to talk about in that way because it's so like, it's extremely not like a final statement or anything like that, right? No. Like it is another entry in the franchise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, do you have any opening thoughts like to get to, or should we just roll on to the summary?
Yeah, I was very skeptical to play this one just because of the kind of fan reception and its sort of reputation as a Silent Hill game. I feel like a lot of people like the first 3 and then don't know anything about 4 or kind of disregard 4. It was interesting to play it. I'm glad I played through it, and I understand why people aren't warm on it like the other ones, but I think for me the strengths kind of outweigh the weaknesses.
Yeah, it's really like gamers don't like it because the back half is literally both backtracking and an escort mission.
Which, to be fair, I also hate it. But
yeah.
But there's a lot here to pick at, and
yes,
I can't fault a game for being interesting, so
yeah. And we'll get into it but this does feel like you can feel maybe that the production was a little bit more troubled, or I don't think you make the decision to be like, okay, we're going to repeat our game again.
Yeah.
We're not. You don't do Halo 1 unless you're having a bad time, in some way, right?
Yeah, and so much of the early levels, you just go into a room and then the level ends, and you're like, okay, I guess that was the level. So.
Yeah. All right. I will read the summary as usual. Everyman Henry Townsend finds himself locked in his apartment for 5 days with no means of communication and having recurring nightmares. Shortly after, a hole appears in the wall of his bathroom through which he enters alternate dimensions. He ends up in an abandoned subway where he meets Cynthia Vasquez, a woman convinced she is dreaming and who's killed by an unknown man. Awakening in his apartment, he hears confirmation on his radio that she's indeed dead in the real world. You can look out the window and see the ambulance, which is really cool.
Oh, it's so fucking sick.
Yeah. Awakening's apartment... Oh, no. Blah, blah, blah. Similar events repeat with the next few people Harry finds. Jasper Jean, a man fascinated with the paranormal and the cult of Silent Hill. Andrew DeSalvo, a former employee of the orphanage run by the aforementioned cult. And Richard Braintree, a resident in Henry's apartment complex.
All the calling me Richard Braintree.
I feel like Andrew and Richard are people who have showed up in, like, random ephemera in 2 and 3.
Sure.
Like Walter gets name dropped in 2, apparently. I didn't like. Yeah, but we'll get to Walter. All deaths bear similarities to deceased serial killer Walter Sullivan's modus operandi. Henry finds diary scraps belonging to journalist Joseph Schreiber, the former inhabitant of his apartment, who is investigating Walter's murder spree. He discovers that Walter is an orphan who has been led to believe his biological mother was in Henry's apartment, where he had been found abandoned after birth. To purify the area, Walter, now undead, is attempting to perform a ritual which requires 21 murders to be committed. As Walter prepares to kill his 20th victim, Eileen Galvin, a child manifestation of himself, appears and stops him. Eileen agrees to join Henry in locating Joseph. At the same time, supernatural occurrences begin to manifest in Henry's apartment. The two eventually find... That's actually kind of a weird way of phrasing it, because there's a big hole that sends into alternate dimensions. Ghosts start showing up. Like poltergeist things start happening, basically. Yeah. The two eventually find Joseph's ghost, who tells them that the only way to escape is to kill Walter, and reveals that Henry is indeed the intended 21st victim. Shortly after, Henry acquires Walter's umbilical cord, which they require to kill him. Eileen leaves Henry and returns to his apartment. Henry follows and finds her possessed and about to walk into a death trap, and a fight between Henry and Walter ensues. There are 4 possible endings to determine whether or not Eileen survives and the conditions of Henry's apartment. The 21 Sacraments ending sees Walter and his child manifest, and his child self, I should say. It's not his son. It's like child incarnation of him. Manifest in his apartment, while their radio reveals that Henry and Eileen have died along with several others. In Eileen's death, Henry awakens his apartment and learns from his radio that Eileen has died, to his sorrow. In Mother, Henry escapes from his apartment building and brings flowers to Eileen, who plans to return to the apartment building. His apartment, meanwhile, has become completely possessed. Escape begins similar to the Mother ending, but Eileen resolves to find a new place to live, and his apartment is not soon to be possessed. Yeah, that's the thing that happens. That's what happens in the video game.
Yeah.
So I think something that's kind of interesting here, that I don't know if this is a good starting point, but like this is neither... I mean, it's kind of a continuation of like Silent Hill 1 and 3's cult continuity stuff, because Walter learns about the 21 Sacraments from his time in this orphanage. That's kind of... I think it's kind of obliquely talked about in Silent Hill 3, or sort of a similar thing is present in that, in the church stuff. But it's not really a continuation of Silent Hill cult stuff, and it's not exactly a like psychological horror continuity of like 2, right? Where it's like there is a little bit of that because you're diving deeper into Walter's twisted mind, right? Yeah. But it doesn't have quite the same energy to it, I don't think.
It's a sequel to a side story in Silent Hill 2, though.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Which is, like, super funny.
Yeah, well, and I think there's sort of, I think it's kind of like, there is, I think the thing I really appreciated about this game, like, right off the bat, is that it's pretty formally daring in terms of, like, it's not really like any other Silent Hill in the way it looks. No. And it has, like, yeah, you've mentioned when we were talking about, like, there's sort of a VHS, like, found footage kind of vibe.
You load this game up, and the OP doesn't have music for, like, the first like 2
Yeah.
minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all like the developers shooting the game from camcorders and like cutting it together and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like interspersed with like sound effects, and it's like, the monsters are like running towards the camera and jump scaring you and all this stuff. And it's very like very found footage sort of influence, which is like really fascinating considering the future of the genre, but also the fact that they went and pulled from that stuff at the time
Yeah.
as a way to
Mm-hmm.
differentiate itself is like super cool and fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I think it has such a it's a little less, I think, like I don't know. There's something about like 2 and 3 in particular, actually 1 as well, where it like has these really sort of solid, I guess, like composition. There's a lot of like images in those games, right? That you kind of like
Yeah,
move through. And in this, it's like a lot, like it looks a little bit more video gamey.
there's no tank
Um,
controls.
yeah, it's like the camera work is a little bit more kind of like, it's also like a little bit further back,
Yeah,
right? Um, kind of because or like through that, it also has this sort of like this kind of unique sort of hazy, feeling to it. I love the cutscenes where, because when basically in the second half, so basically the first half of the game is you go to an alternate dimension, which is some like version of some location that is related to the apartment or close to Silent Hill, right? And you meet a person there, and they die, and then you go to the next world, right?
yeah,
And then in the second half of the game, when you have Eileen with you and you're trying to find Walter, you go through and there's a ghost of the person that died last time, right? Coming to eat you. Um, and so that kind of, and so there's these cutscenes that introduce the ghosts that are spectacular, that are
yeah, they're
so
really
good. Yeah. And I think that stuff is really like, yeah, it just feels like such a bold new direction, especially like all the room segments are in first person, right?
Yeah.
Which it ends up playing with it in some cool ways, like it just feels like they're doing something new with the formula, and it is very much connected to previous Silent Hill games, but also is like, just interested in doing something different. And I
Yeah.
feel like it would be so easy to be like, we're going back to the well of 2, we're going back to continue like the plot line of Silent Hill 3. I don't really know how you would do that, but you could. You could Force Awakens it, I'm sure. And this just doesn't do those things,
Yeah,
you know?
and I mean, even just the idea of unkillable enemies is new. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there are a ton of ghost enemies, and you can't really kill them. You can find items that'll knock them out or make them stationary, but they're just there. And when you get close to them, the camera gets all staticky and stuff, and
Yeah. I
your
love the
character
sort of,
like
I think
freaks
this is
out.
also, sorry, I just have a thought related to the camera getting staticky, but finish
Yeah.
your thing.
No, and that, and also like the first person segments are really really fucking good. Like
Yeah.
the controls are a little wonky, but otherwise like they totally fucking nailed horror games now in like 2006.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, I didn't really think about that, especially like the Outlast connection, where there's like it's all found footage stuff, right?
And
Um,
not even that, like so many parts of
yeah.
this game feel like they're in conversation with PT. Like
Oh yeah, true. Hmm.
each time you like wake up and you're like, the room is like the same, but one or two things have changed.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
and then there's the whole, I mean, we'll get to it later, but the whole sort of theme of like familial trauma, of birth and
Yeah, but just like
rebirth, that
every Bloober Team game is about this.
pretty much, yeah. But also PT
Yeah.
was about that.
Yeah.
Umbilical cord
Right.
is a specific image that is used in PT as well.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of it reminded me of PT, strangely enough. But
Yeah. Well, I guess
yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
Kojima played this game.
I
know?
but I yeah, I have to
Yeah.
assume he did, because there's just so
Yeah.
much so much it just feels like in conversation with it. And again, like this is a PS2 ass PS2 game,
Yeah.
and they just nail sort of like first person exploration stuff in a way that is like really good and like
Yeah.
doesn't feel prototypical. It just feels like they just fucking got it, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, I think it's I was just going to comment on like this is sort of a different tack, but like the when you go into the world or when they're near ghosts, the camera gets all staticky and there's sort of like film grain on it,
Yeah.
right? And I love the association because I think this is a thing in found footage. Because it's like with the otherworldly and like sight or like the camera itself. I think in like Blair Witch, there's this. I don't. Maybe I'm reading into it a little bit here, but I think there's kind of a implication that like if they turned the camera off, maybe they would be okay. You know that it's like there's sort of there's a lot in stuff in that movie about being seen, or in like you know the turning. There's the whole thing of turning away, right? Like I don't want to get into it because people should. If you haven't seen that movie, you should fucking watch Blair Witch Project. My God, it's great. But you know, I think yeah, like it's interested in that stuff in a way that feels like beyond sort of like the aesthetic level, right? It's not. It's like interested in like the implications of those kinds of things, right? And particularly in like documenting normal places constantly and seeing the way that they change in like fucked up ways. you know, this stuff's just cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like didn't think about the PT connection at all, but in retrospect, that's totally obvious. Because you even have like the hallway, you know, and shit.
You have the hallway.
Yeah.
You have this like idea of like, you know, the one of the first quotes of PT is like, "The only me is me, is the only you," and it's like we're definitely playing with like multiple identities and like
Yes. Yeah.
all that stuff. It's like all there. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's sort of. I mean, Walter obviously has like the child self and the adult self. Serial killer man.
Yeah.
You know, and then yeah, but there's also like Walter is like associated, or not Walter. Henry is associated with the previous owners of the apartment, right? And in fact, you play as Joseph at the very beginning. Like the summary didn't really talk about this.
Oh, okay. I did.
Yeah,
not
but the
pick
very
up on
beginning of
that.
the game, it's like your apartment, like you're in the same apartment, but some things are different. I think there's a typewriter there, and stuff like that, right? And then you get like murdered by a ghost at the end.
Yeah.
You know, and then the credits, and then the title screen starts. So yeah, definitely like alternate selves kind of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of general aesthetic. I was thinking maybe we could kind of go through area by area and sort of talk about it, and then sort of talk about the back half of the game in one big chunk because it's all the same areas again. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It does, except the hospital. I guess the hospital is the only area that doesn't repeat. It's just the one time for that one.
Oh, I guess that's right. Damn.
Yeah.
It's Silent Hill. Silent Hill loves the subway.
Yeah. Is this okay? Wait, is there a subway in 2 also, or is it just in 3?
I think it's just 3.
Yeah. Well, because I think that's also something that's kind of interesting about it is that there is like a there's sort of an element that it's like halfway between, or sort of, instead of being like Silent Hill 3 is like it starts away from Silent Hill and then you go to Silent Hill. Silent Hill 4 is like you were never in Silent Hill. You see Silent Hill like across the lake, right? In one
Sure.
part. And that's like you were never in the town, you know. You're in Ashfield, right? But yeah, I don't know. The subway has I'm forgetting her name already. Cynthia, who's just like wants to suck some dick, basically.
So, man, I think we should talk about it now. The
Mm-hmm.
game, I was waiting for this game to be about Henry and his like relationship to women, because like there's Cynthia at the
Mm.
beginning who's like very overly sexualized intentionally, and
Yeah.
like immediately hits on Henry, and then very early on you have the ability to peek in on your neighbor's
Yeah.
apartment, Eileen, and you're just watching this woman like go about her day.
Yeah.
Not and it's not really like a remarked upon, and like she never notices. Um, and then there's that hospital room in the hospital, which we'll get to, but like
Oh yes.
there's that
Yeah.
room with her like Eileen's giant head and her eyes follow you, and then there's like moaning in the background,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, so like what's going on here? And I think they just took a different story direction and then never really touched that again. But I was
Yeah.
waiting for it to like get. I had so many questions about what this game what was the initial pitch of this game and what were they intending to do with some of this stuff, because
Yeah.
it's clearly gesturing at stuff that it just doesn't get fleshed out on later on.
Right. Well, because it kind of ends up being like in the context of, because especially since there's this weird, like, this is the only Silent Hill game where it feels like there's like good and bad endings. In like
Right.
a real, I guess so one has that too, actually.
One
In fairness.
this is like the
Yeah.
closest to one in terms
Yeah.
of like how the endings work.
Because two, it's like the endings are largely just interpretive, right? They are like
Yeah.
ways of like thinking through the rest of what happened in the game. And three, there's just two, and it's kind of the same thing. I guess you could argue that one is bad, but you only can get one in your first playthrough, so it's like, and you have to play pretty deliberately to get the other ending in three, right? Whereas four, it
Mhm.
really is basically like, how good are you at the video game that determines
Yeah.
whether you get the good ending or the bad one,
How
right?
good are you at half the video game?
Yes, right, yes, because the first half doesn't matter at all to it.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, no, I think that that's like an interesting, and I think that's part of like Cynthia does kind of feel, especially like when she dies, it's like very tender, you know. He's like cradling her, and that's the sort of death that really like gets the most like tries anyway to get like a lot of emotional mileage out of it, whereas all the other ones are kind of like shocking or sort of scares fundamentally,
Yeah,
right?
but also like and then the music that plays during her death is really good.
Oh yeah,
Um,
mm-hmm.
it is another like a lot of like vocal tracks in this game. Um, but as that scene fades out, I don't know if you noticed this, but the lyrics as the scene fades out is I don't feel enough for you to cry, oh well.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's such a
It's
weird.
yeah.
Like, I think that's sort of the thing is Henry, someone in our, I think Ina in our Discord shout out said that, like, this is the most Silent Hill protagonist.
Yes.
And that's sort of in
He's
this way.
I forgot he walks up to her and says, "Are you okay?"
Yes. Where
Completely
he's like,
bloody on the floor.
yeah, where he's like so kind of like emotionally distant from the
Yeah.
entire proceeding, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah, I don't really have a further read on the gender stuff that you're talking about. Although
Yeah.
obviously there's like something going on there with like as Henry is sort of like an alternate to Walter who's like obsessed with this mother figure, right? That's
Yeah.
like, you know, and there's also sort of a I don't know if you when you there's an implication later where that like his father was the one who persuaded his mother to abandon him, right?
Okay. Oh.
Um, and so there's sort of like, and there's also you can find a sketch of his father because there's a bunch of like stuff that Walter has left behind, kind of in addition to like the Joseph writing his diary stuff. There's like a bunch of like
Yeah.
Walter
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah. Anyway, I don't know if I have like anything in particular to talk about with the subway. It's kind of like it's kind of a rerun at similar things to the Silent Hill 3 version of it, where it's like A bunch of stuff is
Ah,
blocked off. At one point, you have to walk through a bunch of train cars. You know, this
okay,
kind of thing.
okay. I think we're burying the lead.
Oh, okay. Am I?
Fuck them fucking wall guys.
Yeah.
Those fuckers can burn in hell. It's bullshit. It's hard to avoid. You just walk into them. The game
Oh.
knows it's bullshit because later on they give you health potions at the beginning and end of the escalators because they know you're gonna
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
hit them.
Oh, you know, the guide I was using was such a because he's like, okay, just equip the axe that you get like halfway through. So this is in the second subway, right? And like just hold down the entire charge attack ahead of each wall guy.
Bullshit.
And then I got up and down almost all the way down without getting hit once by those wall guys.
I fucking hate it.
But you can't do that first time round. Yeah, it's like I actually think this is one of those things where it's like conceptually it's like cool enough that I can kind of be like, okay, because like I love that the escalator just goes on forever. It just never ends. It's so long, right?
Yeah.
And it's like this weird like lengthening of space, the sort of thing where it's like you're in a space that's familiar but that isn't working in the way that it's supposed to, right? And that's scary, you know.
Have you seen Us?
No, I've seen parts of it.
Fuck off. You need to watch Us.
I
God
will.
damn
I
it.
will. I'm going to.
This happens
I
in
think
Us.
I have it
and it's
downloaded.
great.
In fact.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I saw like the first. Some roommates were watching it on a night that I had something else going on, but I like watched the first bit of like the home invasion part, and it's cool.
Yeah. I feel like it's the most divisive one of his movies, but
I think that's right.
It's my favorite, so
yeah.
I don't know.
I've only seen Get Out. I haven't seen Nope yet, so. But I would like to. You know what? That's fuck. I'll do it. I'll watch both those movies soon. This is a listener promise. Anyway, yeah, fuck the wall, guys. I agree. And also there's sort of the like I think there's something interesting too where it's like in Silent Hill 3 it's like the fucked up stuff in your hometown is coming to like the city that you chose to escape to, right?
Yeah.
And this is sort of the opposite where it's like, you know, Henry went on vacation to Silent Hill once. And that has just like shaped the rest of his life, right? Yeah. You know. And so I think the subway
Link. I love The Link by Silent Hill.
Yes, yeah, literally. Like there's no sort of association. It's sort of like this has like touched him in this very like indirect way, and now he's getting like roped into this whole thing that he's like doesn't really involve him directly, except that he is the occupier of this apartment, right? That's the only thing that's special about him, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a cool, and the subway kind of works as a like reintroduction of some of that stuff, right? Or sort of restating of like the way, because you know it obviously echoes Silent Hill 3, which also has some ghost stuff in it too, in that section. So, I guess I don't know if that is in Ashfield though. It might be.
It might be.
Yeah. It is a different subway though. I think it is not like shared, you know, level to stuff. Alright, should we move on to the forest, or do you have another thought here?
We can move on. Yeah.
Yeah. So the forest is where there's like this orphanage called Wish House, and there's this guy. There's this Lester. Jasper, who's like just interested in freaky, you know, he's just like a ghost hunter kind of guy, or like not like professional, but just like, oh, I like spooky stuff. I'm gonna go and hang out in this like old abandoned house and see if anything spooky shows up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of I feel like this is the most traditional Silent Hill zone. It's a little more open-ended, you know.
There's two very Silent Hill goofy puzzles in this section. There's one with the key. I mean, this one isn't really funny. There's one with the key where like if you take the key, you can't like go back into the forest. You
Oh,
have to
right.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you have to like
So
go
you have
back
to
into your
go.
apartment. Yeah,
Yeah.
dump the key in your inventory, and then go back to a different like entry point to your apartment, and then pick up the key. From there, it's like I don't know, it's like the Lost Forest in Zelda, but it's like inventory management.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and
That's what
then
survival
there's
horror is. The Lost Forest in
yeah,
Zelda, but inventory management.
and then there's the one with Jasper where you have to give him some milk.
Oh,
Henry
yes.
Henry has
Fucking.
like milk. Henry has like chocolate milk in his fridge, and Jasper at a certain point is like, "Man, I'm so thirsty, and I love chocolate."
Yeah.
It's like, all right,
Jasper,
guys.
you know what? One of the guys, IMO. I do think the thing. This is also something you kind of mentioned in the Discord as well, that this was a Silent Hill game that really freaked you out, and I kind of felt similarly, at
Yeah,
least consistently, that it's like it's very unnerving, and it's also very like I think actually setting up really like consistent rules about like when you are safe and when you are not kind of
yeah,
helps solidify that for me.
yeah. We
Um,
didn't mention it earlier, but like this game, like very like haunted PS2 vibes. Like
yeah.
the little like guitar piece that plays when you open like the main menu. I played this on a PS2, so every time I booted up this game, I heard that fucking riff, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
what a tone, what a mood.
Yeah. No, it's so yeah, and related to this, I think the part where Jasper dies is like so unsettling
Mm,
because it's like, at least for me, what happened is like you go into the orphanage with him, right? And he's like yelling or whatever, and so you go like look around. There's like a diary entry, so I started reading like the lore or whatever, this text thing, and then as I'm reading that, I hear Jasper like stepping around and opening a
mm,
door. And then I don't remember if he like starts screaming or something, or if you hear that. But then I just like open the door and he's in there and he's on fire, right?
yeah,
And sort of that like sensation of like something happening like outside of what you're seeing, right? Happens a couple times in this game, and it's like really because most of the time it's like scary stuff is happening, but usually it's like okay, I have at least a sort of awareness of like where I am and where everything is, and sort of that like kind of getting distracted and then someone dying like right there, like just because you were reading something, obviously it's programmed to happen. There's nothing I could do to prevent this man from being burnt alive, but like that's, I just think that I thought that was so cool. And maybe part of that was how that ended up being presented to me as opposed to like something that's innately in the thing, but that's video gaming. And this is
yeah,
also sort of where we get the like Walter is a traumatized kid
yeah,
who was abandoned and then like fed into this awful machine of like that eats children, and like turns
yeah,
them into, because it's sort of like this is kind of what would have where Heather would have been had she like grown up in the situation, right? Or
yeah,
all that stuff, right? And that's like where she is in like some of the Silent Hill 3 stuff, because there's like Heather is like weirdly old also. She's like a teenage girl, but she also had this other self, that like lived a whole life, and so
yeah.
so they're sort of tying Walter into some of that stuff here. But I think that's it. What do you think about the water prison? If you want to move on.
Oh my god.
Hey,
This
you
is
ever thought about the Panopticon? You ever thought about that? Pretty
this
freaky.
is the most trouble I had pre second half of the
Mm-hmm.
game, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I thought it was really confusing, but it's considering where this game goes, it's fine.
Yeah.
The other thing is like this game, and I didn't realize this, but this game immediately gives you a map. You don't have to
Yes.
like
Yeah.
collect one.
No.
Um, and so I didn't know that,
Oh,
and so
this is like that. I
and
think
so I
there's
had a
one
hard
level.
time.
Yeah. Well, because it is like because you hit triangle to open your map, and then if you hit triangle again, you have like the scrapbook that has all the text documents that you get, right?
Worst fucking UX decision of all
Yeah,
time.
it's bad. Well, because in previous games,
Terrible.
it's like if you hit the triangle button again, it closes the menu,
Yeah.
right? And so I
Yes.
kept doing that and
I
switching.
kept doing that.
between.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
here. It was fucking terrible.
Yeah, bad idea. But yeah, basically this area is like a big tall tower, and there's all these little cells, like 6 cells, and it's kind of and there's a basement and sort of some stuff under that, right? But generally it's like you kind of walking around and exploring these 6 cells, and there's a puzzle where you have to like line up cells, and then in the middle there's sort of an observation thing, and you can look through a window and see each cell. Yeah, it's literally a panopticon, right? It's like all the cells, and then there's one. You can have one guard in the tower who looks through all the little things and observes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I may feel like it's really like I don't know, kind of obvious render, because we've talked about this a little bit before, that Silent Hill is in part about like places of public that are sort of disciplining in some way that like shape you, right? And this is just like a very literal instantiation of that, right? Where it's like you were in a prison.
You're in a prison. The monster design is very on the nose. It's like children that.
Yeah. You know what?
that
I will say,
killed.
I think those guys are freaky.
Yeah,
And they
no,
point
they
at
are.
you. Ugh.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think most of the monsters are pretty
Yeah.
creepy in this game.
Yeah, I just think them walking on their hands, right? The like big hands they have.
Yeah,
I don't know.
no, they're creepy.
It gets me.
Except for the dogs that make the like stock cheetah noise when they die.
Yes. It was also like that. That's the sort of thing, is you can kind of feel there's like something of a lower budget happening, right? Because it's just like, because the sound design in 2 and 3 is so distinctive, and I don't want to be like, it's not like the talent is still there. I think there's a lot of good stuff.
I think this is the most unique game, like sound design wise. It's so different from the rest. But in terms of like enemy noises, it's bad. It's so bad. There's those guys later on where you hit them and they make a burping noise. It's like, why? Why did you do this? Oh.
It's a game about bodies, Rose. It's about being freaked out by the thing that you are, and the room that is your body.
I hate it so much.
Burping. Yeah, it's a little silly. Yeah. You have to. There is a water puzzle. Technically, you gotta open a sluice gate, which is pretty exciting.
The puzzles are really funny. I really like the guide we're referencing. Because Henry turns the knob multiple times when you turn it once.
Yes!
And the guy is like, it looks like he's doing it more than once. He's not.
Yes, yeah. I had literally the exact same thing when I first turned the knob. I was like, oh, maybe it like turns it like 180 or something like that. Nope.
No.
Absolutely not. Yeah, so shout outs to the SilentHillMemories.net guide. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I guess maybe this is a good place to talk about this a little bit. Is I do like the split between Walter as a kid and Walter as an adult, right?
Yeah.
And sort of the like, that he is like that he was wronged as a child, but his child self is not a murderer. Right, by any stretch of the imagination, right? Like, he just wants a family. He just needs a place to be and to be taken care of and like raised as like a human being and not like a tool of his cult or whatever, right? and the things that happened to that child like shaped this adult, but they're not the same thing. And I think that's like a cool distinction that is made. Whereas like a lot of, I feel like kind of like, why does the serial killer do stuff kinds of things is very like deterministic about it, right? It's very like, oh, this is just like kind of bad to the bone sort of thinking, right? And I appreciate, like, I'm not being like, it's still kind of in this zone of like sort of exploitative crime fiction, right? Like I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's so thoughtful, it's outside of that, but I do appreciate that there is like a distinction that is made, and that the child self is like an innocent, basically, you know. And a lot of the game is kind of spent in these places where it's, you know, humanizing in some way. So. Yeah, do you want to talk about the building zone? That's what the guy calls it, but kind of it's what is it? The area around the hospital, maybe, or, you know, a couple. I don't remember. There's like a restaurant. There's a pet store.
I thought it was like outside of the apartment.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Because you can see there's the signage that's in the world, and then if you look out the window, you see it, which is so good, by the way.
Yeah,
I
it's
love.
really good.
We didn't really talk about this, but I love that like you look out the window and there's like the subway station. You know, it's all stuff that's like around the apartment, and then like stuff that happens in that world, like affects the real world, like that ambulance that shows up to pick up Cynthia, all that kind of stuff. But it's not the same, and I think that's like such a creepy thing. You know, that there's like two things happening at once, and you can only understand like one half of it. It feels like the most like it's really played in sort of the alternate dimension stuff in a certain way.
Oh my god, we forgot to mention that you can there's a phone number for a bar on the outside on the billboard.
Yes.
And then you can call it, and when you call it, just Silent Hill noises happens, and then it cuts off. It's so fucking funny.
Did you call it the second time? Because they they changed it to the new phone number,
Right.
the code, and so, but if you look out the window, it's still the old billboard, and so if you call the number, then they're like, "Oh, this is our new number," and that's how you get the code. But I just typed it in.
Right.
So, this was the area that freaked me out the most. I think part of it is that there's a lot of the sort of Silent Hill 1 like opening camera work in this, where it's like far overhead, lots of like shifting and turning and like shaking as you were like moving through an area, and I think that shit just freaks me out. Like I think
awkward
it's
alleyways. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and like that sort of confining quality, and also like I just think the way that plays was sort of it's cool because it's like an urban space that we haven't really quite seen in Silent Hill before, which does have like people, you know, it's like Silent Hill's like a small town, but it's not a small town, right? Like it's a tourist spot, people live there, there are apartment complexes, right? You know, it's not just like 30 houses in a barn. You know, so like but like the sort of like way that plays with height, that you like go really high up and you exit an elevator and there's just a big drop, you know, like everything seems sort of incomplete. And of course, like the way it ties in that you look out the window and you're seeing almost the other side, you know, of what I think that stuff is just really cool. It's really unsettling. And also like there's like these monkey enemies, I guess.
Yeah.
That are like a little goofy, but also it's like freaky when you're just wandering around. There's all these weird noises everywhere, right? That you can't really identify. I think that stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah. Richard Braintree.
Richard Braintree. I mean, we didn't even talk about DeSalvo, who's the employee. He's just like, I'm gonna die. Walter's gonna kill me, and then Walter kills him.
Yeah. Yep.
And Richard Braintree's like an asshole, and that's his entire characterization.
Yeah. I liked I liked his voice direction when he's dying.
Oh yeah.
Cause he has lines. He's being like, I think, isn't he like being like shocked to death or whatever? And
Yes, yeah,
like
he's in an electric chair. Yeah.
but he has a dialogue. He says, cause Henry tells him to like look out for the kid.
Right.
Um, but and then you see him and he's like, kid, that is no kid or whatever. But he's
Yeah.
saying it while he's being electrocuted, and you can barely make out what he's saying. That's
Oh
like really
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I know it's free. I think also just the like, cause it's like you walk into a room, and he's like in his apartment or something, you know,
You know.
and it's just like, and he's just being murdered in this very like institutional way, like he's locked into this chair and stuff. It's just very like sudden and strange. I think that's like a pretty cool scene.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, he's just like a jerk. He like runs after the kid. He's like, the guy told me to watch out for you. Why did he tell him that? And the kid's like, just makes a face and runs. And he's like, hey, I've got a gun. Yeah. So then you get a facsimile of the apartment building. Which I think is pretty cool. Like, I just think the like, again, like so much of what makes the horror of this effective is like repetition of space, and so you go to the building that you're in, and you sort of see all these apartments that are kind of like yours but not really. I guess I didn't really care for any of the subplot stuff that's here. There's like a love triangle thing. Did you pick up on any of this?
I did, but only because the game decided to put a phone at the
Oh,
bottom
yes!
of the fucking apartment and then made me listen to it for like fucking 10 minutes while I tried to find the other one. Fuck that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. I was not as bad about it as you, I guess. But I was like, I want to find this damn phone.
It was just like, guys, I get it. I understand. There's a
Yeah.
thing here. It's not that deep.
Yeah. Yeah, you get like a little cassette that you can play that's like of the like stalker, because there's sort of like a stalker guy and like a nice guy and then a girl, and the stalker like getting beat up, and I don't know, all that stuff's kind of like whatever to me.
Is that the only cassette in the game?
I think so, because yeah, I got every like story item, I think.
That was weird. Like,
so,
yeah, that you get the cassette of him being like tortured or whatever, and it's like
yeah.
the only kind of thing they do, because like you have a radio in your apartment.
Yeah. You do
and
get
it, like,
you do get radio like show stuff playing a couple times, right?
Yeah, you get the radio stuff plays, but also like you put in the cassette tape and it cuts to like the static image of your like basically a screenshot of what your screen looks like as the audio plays. Like, you can't move. Like, they just like made an FMV that's just that picture of the apartment, and then it plays. It was so bizarre and like hacked together. It's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think I guess I like that this is the only one where I really feel like the second run at it improves it a lot.
The second one is better.
Yeah. But yeah, then you find Eileen, also, and I think, also it's weird because Henry's so like, what am I supposed to do about this, this hurt person? He's like, no idea. And then she gets taken to the hospital, and, you go through your hole in the wall. And wait, no, is this where you...
Well, no, this is,
yeah.
She dies here, right?
Kind of. She gets taken to the hospital, I think, and is still alive.
Okay, got it. I read that as her dying, but it could be whatever.
I think it is. This is the point where you like put together the second portal out of the like the tarot card things, right? I think that's what happens here. Yeah, I think the hospital. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the pod, but I think that hallway where there's just like 28 rooms, and then also the layout is randomized every time, apparently.
Yes.
And so you just have to open every door,
Yep.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's amazing. It is also very funny because the aforementioned wheelchairs are just rolling around in there.
It's so funny.
But yeah, I thought that was like so cool.
Yeah, and that Eileen head is
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just free. It's freaky. It's a like all right image, you know.
I'm looking at Eileen, and like, there's so much here. She's a very like conventionally attractive woman, like,
Yeah.
and she like has when you're like looking at her apart. I'm sorry, I'm so stuck on this theme. When
No,
you're
no,
looking
I'm
at her,
interested.
when you're like fucking creeping on her in the apartment, she has like casual clothes. But when you see her outside of the apartment, she's wearing like a purple dress, like very
Yes.
like dressed up to go somewhere. So very clearly like playing with the idea of, you know, like presenting yourself in public versus having these private moments. And also, yeah, the head and the like moaning, and it's not like painful. It's like these are sex noises. These are sex
Yes. Yeah.
noises that are happening, and the game. I don't know what to think. Also, when you get a good ending of this game, you unlock a maid outfit for her, and she fucking
Oh,
wears it, and there's boob physics. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing, man. Oh,
I
it
did not
fucking. Oh,
realize about the maid outfit. That's wow.
yeah, it's like a hospital nurse. I'll send it to you. It's fucking
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah. My God.
But
Um.
Eileen
I
in
mean, I
this
think that
game,
is like part of it is like because the way kind of you looking in on her is presented is like you're keeping an eye on her to protect her because that's sort of like there's so much of the game is like that first half is like Walter being like I'm going to kill her or like she's gonna come get in trouble, right? And so
yeah,
um, and part of it's like Walter's like making you look right. There's sort of a weird like
yeah,
um,
yeah. And then part of
stuff
it
with
is
that
like
there.
she could be looking back at you, but also like mocking you for
Yeah.
like having this attraction, but only being able to stare at her in private moments when she doesn't
Right,
realize
yeah.
it.
Well, she also doesn't have like a there's not a lot to her all told. Like
Yeah,
she kind of is just like girl. Oh, what the
yes,
fuck?
it's fucking terrible. Ugh,
That's so weird. Especially since she's like all beat up and shit.
she's all beat up. She has a
Cuz like I
broken
do
arm.
think like cuz I kind of thought of the party dress stuff and the like cuz there's a weird thing when you're like going to a party and maybe this is cuz how I think about it because I have social anxiety. But it's like you're
Right.
in a very vulnerable position, right? Especially if you're like trying to present yourself well. If you put on makeup, right? You wear something maybe like a little bit, flirtatious or whatever, right? I'm putting air quotes on that, but right? Like there's sort of a vulnerability to that, and it's like when you, and then getting like brutalized before you can do that, right? Before you can sort of leave your home, right? Is like really like upsetting and violating, right? And I think the game is in part about that kind of like the intimacy of being in public, right? And so I was like, maybe there's something going on with that, but I do think there's just I think given this fucking maid outfit and like the way it doesn't really interrogate the sort of like peeping in, I think there is sort of like very uncritical, like you are just the protector of this woman who is
Yes.
like the object of your sexual desire, and you just have to like protect her in order to like win her heart, and
Yeah,
that's just
and you
kind of
like
it.
the end of the game if you get a good ending is her being like,
Yeah.
or I guess it's like the best ending.
Yeah,
It's
which does
very
feel
heavily
like
implied that,
because I feel like
they,
Mary and Heather are both pretty interesting characters.
yeah.
Well, and who's the other woman in Silent Hill 2 who's in
Oh,
the
Angela.
Angela? Yeah, like those are all characters I think who have stuff going on, right? Who are pretty
Yeah,
interesting. And so this is like, I mean, it's whatever, but too bad,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah. It sucks.
Yeah, and that's sort of the rest of the game is you go back through the aforementioned areas with Eileen. And she can like you can give her an item to defend herself, but it takes up a thing in your inventory slot, which I think is kind of dumb, but
Yes, I hate
you know.
it.
And also the thing is, you have to be like strategic about when you equip it or unequip it, because if you're trying to run from something and she has a weapon equipped, then you were just like, she will not run from it, she will fight it. So
this part of the game made me a misogynist. I fucking you have to like keep her within a certain distance, or else she starts to be corrupted. Also, if she takes damage, she starts becoming corrupted, which is basically she's being possessed by Walter to become the mother figure.
Yeah.
And that stuff is annoying. You can like light a candle by her feet to like make her less possessed. But then it also like that interferes with your ability to remove the like hauntings from your apartment.
Right.
Also, she's in this like fucking tight dress the entire time, and it sucks. And then she can't climb up ladders, and there's multiple instances of you climbing up ladders and then backtracking to
Yeah,
get
to
back
pick
to
her up.
her to like
Yeah.
go through the new path that you found, and that sucks. Um,
The thing is, I will say about this is because I'm very resistant to, because kind of the common logic after this sort of era where there's like a quest like this in a bunch of video games is like, like someone you're escorting or protecting in a video game should never be an inconvenience. It should never be trouble to protect. It should always be,
right.
like sort of the BioShock Infinite model, right? Where it's like they are always a resource and never like someone, like an object, an actual being in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that like this is objectifying, but that's also objectifying, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
That's so I do like I kind of appreciated the like boldness of like having you be like, no, like if you want to like have a good ending to this video game, you have to like try and look out for this person, right?
Yeah.
I do think it's very clumsily implemented, especially given that it's like you are just going through the same areas again with like there's a new puzzle this time, maybe.
Yeah.
You have to go collect doll parts, or you have to go put the billiard ball in the right place or whatever, right? Like that stuff,
Yeah.
And it's just not terribly interesting.
Yeah. What I will say though is that there is definitely, for me, so my arc with this game is that I played the first half and I was like, Goaty, best game, best game ever made. Don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
everybody's talking about. And then
Yeah.
I got to the second subway, and I was like, oh, I see.
Yes.
And then the backtracking segment with the subway, and you have to
Oh, where you
go.
have to do it twice.
You have to go across the subway to the other part of the subway and get
Oh, yeah.
Eileen, and then go back. And then I
Yeah.
died at the very end of that, and I gave
Oh.
into astonishment and turned off my PS2. And I was just like, I can't fucking do
Yeah.
this.
I do have like I feel like I can kind of turn something on in my brain when I hit something like this.
You have fucking game journalism brain. I don't know
I
how you
think I
fucking
do.
beat this game in a day. I have no fucking clue
I
how
didn't
you
beat
did
it in a
this.
day.
And not only that, you got the good ending.
I did
Fuck,
get the good ending, yeah.
I don't understand how you did that.
I was worried about it because like I did leave. There's parts where you have to leave her alone because you have to climb a ladder, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried about it, and that she was like walking towards the thing, but it wasn't super fast, I guess. So I did, but it was close. That was the thing. As like she almost died. I feel like it was not. It was narrowly, and also the guide I was using said to like always charge attack. And so if you like whiffed on that, it was like no.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
we'll get to the boss battle in a bit. One of the things, did Eileen read any of the text in the forest world? Did that
Yeah.
happen to you? Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I wish the game had done more stuff with that. With like
Yeah.
Eileen being able to read or understand things in the world that you can't. I thought that was such a cool idea.
Yeah.
And it's just not there. Outside of that one
Yeah.
little thing. But
Yeah. I will say like hospital world, not hospital, the apartments exterior.
yeah.
Oh my god. that was the one segment of the game where like the game designer's platonic ideal of a survival horror game happened, where I had like no health, and
Oh shit.
I saved every 5 minutes, and
Yeah. Well, I
then the safe room stopped saving you, and I was like, fuck, god damn it, and like
yeah.
I just barely was like hanging on for dear life, and then
Yeah.
and then I realized, and then I learned how to get to the end of the level, and then I was like, fuck, I don't even know where Eileen is. I don't know. I don't remember where I fucking put her.
Oh
And so
no.
I've like fucking wandered the entire level looking for Eileen. And then it was like, okay, I found her. Where do I go now? And then just working my way through with like, and I'm talking like if I get hit once, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So,
God.
and then just having to walk her through the entire level and just being like, fuck, I can't get fucking hit. That was great. And it warped around to being funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that was the
Well, I
most
think the
like
like.
survival horror game moment I've had so
Yeah.
far that we started this podcast.
That's
And that
amazing.
was fun. But yeah, it's mostly really tedious though.
Yes. Well, I was gonna say I do think the like room. So in the first half, the room heals you whenever you go back into it, and the second half it doesn't. And in fact, it can damage you because these hauntings show up, right? And you have to like place a candle or like equip a medallion to stop it. And then every time
Yeah.
that gets consumed, and so you have to be like, and it plays into the inventory management in the horror world or whatever you want to call it, too, because it's like you have to, like, oh, I have to leave space for these candles that are going to be
Yeah.
useful later, but right now I
Yes.
need to like fight enemies and stuff. I think that stuff is also really cool,
Yeah.
right? Like I think the way that the game sets up a bunch of expectations about how it works, and then in the back half just like completely shreds those, right?
Subverts
And
it,
is like you
yeah.
have to do this other thing is super cool,
It's really
right?
cool.
Yeah,
And
and so I
then
think
like
that's like
it's
part of
like
what.
jam packed with the different ways it can like haunt you in your apartment.
Yeah, there's a bunch that I didn't see. Oh yeah, I
Um,
guess I was asked you, did you pick up the doll that Walter can give you? I think this is in the apartment
yes.
world. Yeah, so if you put that in your thing, in your box, then a haunting will show up that doesn't otherwise. And so I knew this, so I just
Huh.
kept the doll in my inventory. Like the entire
Interesting.
back half of the game to prevent that haunting from happening. And so I didn't have one slot that I would have had otherwise and would have made things so much easier.
Interesting. Which one was that then?
I think it's like the doll, like a bunch of dolls pop up above the box or something.
Huh. Yeah,
Let me
I had
see.
that happen at the very end of the game.
Yeah. Let me look
Um,
at the item chest
Weird.
wall. Several small dolls will protrude from the wall above your item chest to the sound of crying. So,
Okay.
and it's not on PC apparently. A few of the hauntings are not on the PC version for some reason, which is weird.
Most of them don't. This is just this is just like Konami making PC games. There's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, seven scares that didn't get implemented in another version of the game, which
That's
is really funny.
so weird. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
which one was your least favorite one?
of the hauntings.
Yes.
I think the cushion chair, I guess, is kind of corny, where it's just like the chair's covered in blood.
Oh, I just meant the one that spooked you the most.
Oh, the one that spooked me. I think the front door peephole is the scariest one, where it's like your body,
That
like,
one's pretty good.
feels good. Um,
The fucking wall cracks fucking make the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
oh yeah,
Gives me goosebumps. It's like so freaky to look at. I
yeah.
hate
It is
it.
kind of a like trypophobia thing too.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's fucking. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Um, yeah.
Did you get the kid in the closet?
I did. Yeah, that shit
That
is
one's
fucked up
great.
because you just wake up and then you're like, ah, I'm. I think I
I'm
died
fucking
actually.
taking damage immediately.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I think that's also so good because most of the hauntings take place in the main room, right? I think it's
Yeah.
all except for that one. And so it's like, oh, you're like, oh, this is how the hauntings work, and there's one that'll fuck you up, you know, if you're not paying attention. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
My least favorite in terms of like mechanic is the one where you kind of have to like guess where to put the candle, you know?
Mm.
Because there's like there was one with the slippers where you have to put it on a
Oh.
specific part of the countertop or else it won't work, which I
Right. I
thought
did get that
was
one, but I
pretty
figured it
lame.
out.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's like in the guide, it's like, hey, if you have these two hauntings, you can dispel them all with one candle. If you put them.
Yeah.
Thing is, you get enough candles that if you like are really on it, you can dispel each haunting as it
Yeah.
comes. Was my experience. And like actually towards the end, I was running really low on inventory stuff, and so I like burned candles just to get rid of them in the.
Right.
I keep wanting to say the real world, but like in not the apartment. Do you know what also
Yeah.
is good? When the first time you're in your apartments, or the second time, and you go into your apartment, and for the first time in like the other world, and it has all the candles everywhere and stuff, and it's the first time you're seeing it not in first person. I think that's like so weird and unsettling, in this
Yeah,
very like video
that's
gamey
cool.
way. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I have to say about like area stuff. And Eileen. Oh, I kept saying, "Come on, Eileen," when I was playing it. So
Oh, I just yelled Eileen over and
Eileen.
over again.
Yeah,
Fucking
this was also the thing is it would help so much if there was like some directional thing, or like if you could just be like, "Hey, Eileen, let's leave," or whatever. Like if you
it's
know.
fucking Keither Sutherland going quiet.
Yeah, but like I also wish she had inventory space. I mean, I know I'm doing this thing again. I'm making her utility, but it's
There's
like,
oh my
give me
god.
something.
There's when I say this game made me a like the fucking spiral staircase where every like 5 steps she gets caught on the fucking railing and I'm like you fucking bitch just fucking walk straight. It drove me insane. Like oh my god.
Yeah, no,
Why did
those
they do that?
yeah, I. It's just, I mean, that's one of the
Ridiculous.
things. Is it's like it's such a good idea. I mean, like okay. Here's what I mean by good idea. I understand how if you're like we're on a deadline, and so let's make a game where it's like we use the same levels a second time, but they're like recontextualized, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't understand. We're like, and then let's also program a whole AI to accompany you, and this will be easy, and like maybe I don't know. I don't know what the production process on this game was like, right? Also, I think it's funny that I got the good ending, but you got 10 stars, or 20 stars.
Um
Oh no! So I got yeah. So you got way more stars than me. You got a way higher rank.
I have no idea how that happened.
I don't know
Um
either.
but so just to go back to like
Mhm.
Eileen as like a mechanic, like
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like I like the idea of it, but again, like the where it breaks for me is knowing the reward for engaging with it is that she has feelings for Henry,
Yeah.
and you guys are
Yeah.
like a couple. Fucking sucks. I
Yeah. No,
hate
I
it.
agree. I think it's
Um,
like I just yeah. No, I'm with you. I also don't think like it was. I was annoyed for the back half of this game. Like a large part of it, right, was
yeah,
like, especially since I'm playing it on like a light deadline, but a deadline, you know.
yes,
And so it's like I want to get this game done, and the game is like making it harder for me to do that in ways that are not interesting, right?
yeah,
That's just like true. Um, you know. I just think that like I feel like if you had a little bit if I guess I will say the thing that Eileen is like effective combatant. Like if you
mhm,
give her a weapon and you were like in a room full of enemies and you're just hacking at guys, like she can hold her own, right? It's just the fact that there are the ghosts that are such a like because they
yes,
always will deal damage unless you have swords of obedience, right? Which you can, but even then you have to pin them down first, and it's really difficult to do that. unless you have like specific items, so it's like that stuff is such a pain, and it's like it just feels like in the back half of that game you are so disadvantaged. It would have been like mechanically sound to have Eileen have a little more like power, and also for thematic reasons, like maybe it would be nice if she could be more of a person, more of an agent, right? And she just doesn't. She's like in every way basically like a liability, and that's such a like fucked up way to talk about it because she's like a character, but that's like the way the game is leveraging her, right? Like there's not really a way around that. So that's sort of the thing, is I think there is a version of this idea that is not shitty and is totally cool, and it's just not this. But there are flickers of it here and there.
I pretty much gave up on helping her in the forest puzzle, where it's like you go to each forest zone and then there are enemies, and Walter's following you the entire time.
Oh yeah, Walter.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just gonna run to each well and get the thing and go. Like, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta find Eileen, and then she's like fucking. She's like in a random forest area, like fucking kneeled over, and there's fucking 3 zombies around her. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, see, the thing is, all you have to do to get the good ending is not do that. You just have to take her with you. Because that's the thing, is she got hit, like it did happen. But I just never left her alone for longer than like the bare minimum, basically. So.
I tried doing like the candle purification thing.
Yeah.
But it never. But I guess like, okay, so since I got the bad ending, and so she was possessed pretty much my entire playthrough, which meant that like during like certain parts, it's probably random, but like she would like stand still and start like gestating and like start like speaking Latin and like and then the subtitles are like random like exclamation point at stuff, and that stuff was cool. I thought that was like pretty effective and like spooky. I like that stuff. I actually feel like for me the bad ending is the most interesting ending of the game. But I don't know if you want to talk about that first, or you want to talk about the final boss first.
Let's talk about final boss first, and then we can get to the. I mean, final boss is just Walter, and he's got like a big flesh buddy.
This game has the most video game ass bosses for a Silent Hill game.
Yeah.
Or I guess one video game ass boss, and then one kind of annoying boss.
Yeah. Is the kind of annoying boss the one where there's only one real one, and so you have to fight? Or is that
Yep, and it's like completely random each time.
Oh, it is? That's super annoying.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you do work. It doesn't really... There's not really a lot to that fight.
No. You just have to find the right one. It's fucking whack-a-mole with the wall zombies.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so the thing about this fight, you have to run up to the flesh buddy and throw the umbilical cord into him, which you picked up earlier. And then you get there's 8 big old spears, and you gotta pick all those up and put them on the guy also.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you fight Walter, which is like...
And then you fight Walter.
Which is like fighting Walter, because Walter pursues you in the water prison, which is like not that big of a deal because he's only on the outside. And he's easy to avoid, and then in the forest, which is a super pain. And you can like knock him down and stuff, but you can't kill him until now. I do think the part where it's like Eileen, I mean, I'm sure Eileen just like sprinted into the blood machine.
She fucking died. Not even a chance. I like picked up 4 spears and then she was dead.
Yeah. But for me, it was like she took a step and the camera like cuts to her every time.
Yes,
and so at the
great.
end, I was
that part is good.
I was like, like really freaking out, right, about it, and I thought that was really sick. It felt like almost, the part in Near Infinite where it flips between the 2 characters that you're playing at the time, 9S and 2A or whatever.
You said Near Infinite.
Did I say Near Infinite?
Yeah.
Fuck off. Near Automata. Where anyway, it feels like kind of like that. You know, it's a cool formal move. More video games should do it. IMO.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
cool. For my playthrough,
Yeah.
she might as well just like fucking did a belly flop into the fucking blood.
No, well,
I'm
that
like,
was what I
this is
read in the guide.
impossible.
And so when I
Yeah.
saw her like take one slow step, I was like, oh, I'm good. Like I'm gonna get the good ending if I
Yeah.
do this fast enough, right?
Yeah.
Which it didn't. I was very narrowly not fast enough, but I think that's cool. Again, I'm interested. I'm interested in the video game emotion of protecting something. I think that's a cool thing. It's just fucking loaded with gender 95% of the time.
Yes.
And and so I would like there to be games where that's not the case. But you know, what are you gonna do? Shoutouts to The Last Guardian, I guess. Which I haven't played, but is probably has some of this.
I like how you shouted out The Last Guardian and not Ico.
Well,
I guess that's
steeped
gender.
with gender. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Don't
mind.
get me wrong. I like Ico a lot. Like that's a cool video game. And it's not nearly as heinous as it is here, right? But it is gender.
Yes.
Also,
when you're walking with Eileen outside the prison, and it's like, and it, and it feels like a formal like reference to Ico. I'm like, guys, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is and also the thing is Ico is gender in sort of on the basic level where it's like man protecting a woman, right? In the way that Bioshock Infinite is, but it's so much classier, right? Yeah. It's just so it's so much more chilled out about I don't know. It's also just better, right? Obviously, but it's it's by comparison, it comes off very well, I think.
Fuck, we didn't talk about the second hospital.
Is there a second hospital?
Second apartment internal.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. I alluded to when you go to the apartment. You go inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go into it, everything's fucking red, and you're exploring the apartment. It's like the real world, but the apartment's corrupted now.
Yeah.
So basically, you get to your apartment, you fucking take a hammer to your wall, and turns out Walter's been in your wall.
Yes, which is sick. That owns.
So funny.
Yeah,
there's a fridge behind him with fucking vials and shit, and he's crucified himself, and he's got tubes in his body.
That's so funny.
Good. It's so good.
That owns. Oh.
But you get a key.
That's a great cutscene too.
He has the key to your apartment. It's so fucking funny, or the chains or whatever.
Yes.
And anyway, so you unlock, you free yourself, but it turns out your apartment's fucked. All the walls are blood red and stuff. It's very Silent Hill stuff. And you explore, Eileen's there also, and so it's the same sort of deal. But then you get to the first floor, and then a somber melody starts kicking in. As you're finding out more about Walter, and his sort of motivations and how he was kind of abandoned as a child, Eileen finds a scrapbook of Walter's and just kind of studies it, and she freezes in place. While you go and figure out the rest of the Silent Hill puzzle they have to do, which is basically like finding 6 hanging corpses, which is like, is this supposed to be a reference to Silent Hill 2 puzzle of
Oh,
that
maybe.
stuff?
Sure.
And then you come back, and actually this is different depending on her possession level. So like, I guess it's a very normal conversation where she feels bad for the kid if she's not possessed.
Yes. That's what happened to me. Yeah.
And then if she is possessed, like she was in my playthrough, she fucking flips out and starts like becoming Walter, like calling for mommy and daddy and stuff.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then the second, because it happens twice. It happens after she looks at sort of his drawings, and then you go back to your apartment, I think. Or, no, you go back to like one of the apartments, and like, and she, it's where you find the umbilical cord, and
Yes.
she
Yeah,
does
the superintendents.
yeah, she does the same thing again, only this time way more intense, and she starts like hitting Walter, and then she just runs away and like goes to help Walter, because she's just like, I have to help this kid, like, yeah. So she's
She
fully
does
bought
say
in.
that in the the version I got, but it's very like calm, and she's like, we're the only people who can stop him, and there's sort of like, it seems like she intends to. She's like, oh, by killing Walter, I will free the child in him, or something like that, right? And then she goes and then is like taken over.
Yeah.
In some way, right? The sort of, and that's actually kind of a weird thing, because I was talking earlier about how I appreciate the way the game is sympathetic to Walter as a child, but there was sort of this implication that like, because Eileen is sympathetic to him, that lets him get in, that I'm kind of like frowning at.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a more complex way to read that, but
Yeah.
that's what I got right now.
But I really like that last level because it's just really sad. I just felt really sad playing through that stuff. I found it really
Yeah.
affecting. Especially the music
Yeah.
choice there is like really good, and kind of drives
Right.
home.
Well, I think
Kind
it
of just
is
drives
like,
home like, this was a kid that, you know, was abandoned and then got manipulated into, doing the shitty things that he did.
yeah, I think there's a very the villain is still like the cult of Silent Hill, right, in the background,
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that stuff is, yeah, like, it just works. I think, it's nice in horror. Part of the interest of horror is like identifying with the villain or finding something sympathetic or interesting, right? And I think this is like a pretty good, and he's also by far the most complex character, and he's not like that. There's not that much to him,
Right.
right? But he's got like significantly more going on than Henry or Eileen or anyone else.
Yeah.
So, and I really like the like diary stuff with him in the woods. It's wild that feels so optional, right? Because I think it does really help flesh that stuff out and like characterize that world,
Yeah.
I also like Joseph is like so freaky. I think that's cool, like upside down and like spouting justice or something, like, and repeating things over and over again. That's like this echo of a person.
Right. Joseph's the superintendent, right?
Joseph's the previous owner of the apartment.
Right, yeah.
Like,
Okay, that's right.
yeah. Oh, also, I was forgetting, because he, like, found the umbilical cord, the superintendent found the umbilical cord, and just, like, kept it in his room.
That's the thing.
For years.
Eileen overheard him saying that, and I'm like, girl, you need to leave now.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Right, but that part is so funny, where he's just like, the umbilical cord that I keep in my room is getting real stinky. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, just whatever, And I was like, what is happening right now?
God, all the parts where you peek out of that hole, the front of the door, and like things are happening outside, man, that's fucking good. Like,
yeah, I love the handprints too that are all
the handprints as like
more
people
of them show
die,
up.
it gets added to. Mwah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. And the superintendent like staring at your room, like pacing back and forth. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Well, and like, or you like, because a couple of like Henry's like, help, help, and they can't hear you,
Yeah.
and that stuff's cool. Like the sort of, I think being, I think all the like positional spatial horror in this game is aces.
So
it's
good.
all really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it adds so much. Even like there's one where like the superintendent and Eileen are just like having a shouting match at each other. You can't like hear anything, but
Mm-hmm.
like they're just fighting. And, like that adds so much to just what's going
Yeah.
on. To
Yeah, I wish
um,
that was like, because I think the kind of missing part of like the first apartment level where you like get to know a bunch of people who live there, but it's like all kind of a bunch of cliches. There's like a cat lady, you
yeah,
know, there's like a video game nerd man. There's like, you know, it's like it's just kind of whatever. And I wish like if that stuff had had a more human touch to it, I think it would have come off like a lot stronger.
yeah, for sure.
Um, you know, um, but yeah, but I think that's sort of the thing. I think generally it's like all the aesthetic moves this game makes, I think are really, really strong. Um, and I think it's pretty clear that like it has like a very established like vision or like interest in specific things and the level design and like most of the elements of the narrative like reflect that. It's sort of a question of like how much that stuff works for you and also so much of it is like a kind of clumsy, you know, or annoying.
Hmm.
You know, it's gamer brained, but you know, it's true. Sometimes things are annoying.
Yeah. You want to talk about the endings?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I don't really care about any of these. I
You
guess. I mean,
don't?
I think you're right though. That the bad ending is like the one that's like kind of interesting. Like I like him. They're just in the apartment and they're just there. And what his life look like now? Who knows? You know.
Well, it didn't fucking work. They fucking
Yeah.
killed 21 people, and they're like, well, now what? The
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
is like, I'm home. I won't let anybody, get in the way. I'll gonna stay with you forever, right?
Right.
But then adult uh Walter is like not even saying anything, just completely like head down, like fucking
Yeah.
depressed. Like the whole fucking thing was a fucking fluke, and like, you know,
He didn't.
what do
Yeah.
you do with that? Like what do you do with that, and what does it's I mean it's I mean what we were talking about earlier, like the real villain is like the cult, and it just manipulating Walter so far that he just did all this shit for no reason, like
Yeah.
destroyed
Yeah.
entire lives, and that's really fucking good. It's really good.
Yeah.
As you're
Yeah.
hearing radio messages of like what happened to Eileen and Henry, like, and then like Henry just being like completely like his body just being fucking unrecognizable, and stuff like that. It's fucking good. I really I was like gamer annoyed that I got the bad ending by not doing
Right.
the game well, but looking at the other endings, I find the bad one to be uh the one
Yeah.
that I like the most.
I think that makes sense because I think kind of the other ones are like. I mean, I do think the ending where you so basically the term is the ending or how well you protect Eileen, and how many of the like hauntings that your apartment has that you get rid of, right? And so the bad ending is like if you don't get rid of any haunting or get rid of very few hauntings, and then don't protect Eileen, then that's what happens.
Hmm.
And then there's like four variants basically based on each variable being positive or negative, right?
Hmm.
Positive and or negative. And so I got positive, and it's boring. He just goes to the apartment and gives her flowers, and they're a couple, and they're gonna move out, and whatever,
Yeah.
you know. And then there's that, but Eileen's like, "Well, we're going back to our apartment building," and then it cuts, and it's like rancid in there.
It's so good. Okay, that one is good. That one, okay, so that one's good. I like that one. But the fact that Henry has the same reaction in both cutscenes sucks because it's like she's saying that she's
Yeah.
still possessed. That's what she's fundamentally saying in that ending. And Henry's just like,
Right.
yep.
Right.
Henry does not give a shit or is like too dumb to notice.
I was like, I'm getting laid. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's in this like fungal hive that my
Yeah.
apartment now is.
Yeah.
And then the other ending is like him. It's kind of like in the mode of some of the first person cutscenes that show up in the game, where he like wakes up and then it's like, oh no, Eileen is dead. I'm hearing it on the radio.
Yeah.
That's what Henry sounds like in my mind, I guess. And yeah, that's whatever, you know. So I think that makes sense to me. I think that's right.
Yeah, I like the 21 sacraments ending. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wish that there. I mean, yeah, I guess I wish. I'm not gonna say I don't wish. I wish Eileen was not in it, but I wish she was different. I wish there was something else going on there.
Same. Yep. Like again, I was very annoyed in a very gendered way, but it didn't. The game also was not interested in any of that. So
What kind of? I mean, I think this is like the thing is always. I mean, I guess I don't want like a Sony Prestige mom game, but give me a mom game. God damn it.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking mom game. You know? That's what I want.
What? Wait. We're playing Halo Infinite right now.
Fuck off. That's another dad game.
No. Cortana can be a mom. You get like
You
baby
don't-
Cortana.
No, but I'm so mad right now. Well, I don't want Mom of War. I just want like I don't know. What about like I don't know Disco Elysium, but you're like a mom, and you're, like one of the things is you have to take care of your kid. You're like a single working mom,
Sure.
and you're doing whatever. That's just something I don't know. And it's not that that's still like obviously that's still like gendered, but just like fucking let's explore a different element of like this thing, please.
Yeah.
And like let's have a protection relationship that's not like a man and his romantic partner or a man and his daughter/son.
Person he was secretly stalking the entire game.
Yeah.
I did like the when Eileen gets like captured or when bad things start happening to her, the bunny gets bloody and points at you.
Yeah, it's good.
That was fun.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there was going to be more bunny stuff in this. For some reason, I was under the impression that Silent Hill 4 was like the bunny Silent Hill.
No, that's 3, but it
And I don't
doesn't
know
show
why
up
I
in
thought
3 that much. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not in either of them all that much, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I was like surprised when it showed up in 3. It's like I thought 4 was the bunny one, and then there's the bunny in the foreground of you peeking in on Eileen, and so I was like, oh, like maybe the bunny's gonna be like a thing in this one. Not really.
Yeah.
But it's a good scare.
Mm-hmm.
All right, should we do emails?
Let me read this first. Walter Sullivan
please do.
biography on silenthill.fandom.com.
Okay.
Walter Sullivan, gender male, age 24 parentheses at suicide, 34 parentheses as a ghost. I just wanted to read that.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. If fandom.com was like a not-for-profit thing like Wikipedia, I think I would be far more in love with it as like an entity. But as is, it can get fucked. Sorry to people who pay my bills. But
Yeah.
they don't listen to this podcast.
That's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. Should we do emails?
By beating this game, you can unlock a chainsaw, and then you can unlock an Uzi for Eileen.
That's sick! Holy shit! What?
Bro,
Does it have ammo? How does that work? That's amazing.
I want to see Eileen strapped. That's amazing.
Holy shit! Because that was also annoying. I was like, why can't I give Eileen a gun?
Exactly.
Right? Like, because she's a woman, she has to have like a handbag or like a chain.
That's the first weapon you get from her. I was like, fuck off. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's like, just let me give her, like, let her have access to all the other weapons, right?
It's
like, I don't understand why you
ridiculous.
did it
Because,
this
like,
way.
yeah, it's only, like, specific weapons that are marked as Eileen weapons, which is so stupid.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, submachine gun. The submachine gun can be unlocked after completing the game. What the fuck?
That's amazing.
Oh my god.
You know, here's the
Oh
thing.
shit, sorry,
Is
no, it's
Eileen.
sorry, it's not for Eileen.
Oh, that sucks.
It's
I guess I was about to say I
wait.
was like that
No,
nurse
yeah, it
outfit's
is. Never
awful.
mind. Why?
It is okay.
That's
But
weird.
if she had an Uzi, that's feminism.
Submachine gun, it can do damage to her, but how can it do damage to her if it's her weapon? I don't know.
Ricochet.
Maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway. That's unlockable you can get in addition to the fucking nurse uniform.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that nurse uniform. I hate it so much.
It's bad. It's not good. All right. Email time?
Yeah, email time. Sorry, I'm so
right.
obsessed with Eileen as a kid. She's the most normal woman in Silent Hill.
That's true. She's just chilling. She's going to a party.
She's the Donna of Silent Hill. She was at a party. Canonically, she was at a party and came back and was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Anyway.
Okay. We have an email from Nina. I mean, not Nina. My God. I'm sorry. Apologies. I don't know where that came from. All right. Hello, safe roommates. I played Silent Hill 4 at the end of last month and actually really connected with it emotionally in a way that surprised me. And now I'm actually my favorite of Silent Hill 4 guy, so that's one more thing to deal with in life. Silent Hill 4 is not my favorite, but I get this.
I think
how
the
it could be
first half of Silent Hill 4 is my favorite.
That's fair.
It starts so
You're allowed.
strong. The fucking opening being so weird and different, and yeah, it starts so strong.
Yeah. Okay. Ina has 2 questions. First question. How big would a taco have to be for characters from Silent Hill 4 to be like, that taco is too big, actually, I don't want to eat it?
Oh my god.
So I'm going to say, for Walter, there is no taco too big not to eat. I think. He would eat a taco of any size.
Walter and the superintendent. Both.
Okay, sure.
That's superintendent.
I think,
yeah.
I think
we
I don't know.
we hop, skipped, and jumped right over the fat phobia. And I guess we did mention it, but hey, Silent Hill, I hate fat people. Still.
Yes, a recurring theme.
Yeah.
Henry, I feel like, is easily intimidated by the size of food, so I don't think it would have to be too large of a taco for him to be like, I'm good. I don't know why I get that feeling from him, but that's just the vibe for me.
I'm picturing Henry and Eileen at a Mexican restaurant eating their tacos with knives and forks.
Sure. Yeah. What would? Yeah. Okay. Never mind. My mind went to Donald Trump hearing that, and I don't want to think about that. Anyway.
No, I just meant to conjure like weird upper middle class people.
Yes.
Being too fancy to eat a taco with their hands.
Yes, I got you. But that was my mind went from that to because he's had several controversies about eating things with a knife and a fork, like multiple.
Okay, well, I'm not hip to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about anybody. I don't know if I care about anybody else.
No.
I think okay, here's what I'll also say. I think Walter as a kid will be like, "Oh, big taco, I'll eat it. That's exciting." And then Walter as an adult is like, "I must eat this taco to transcend my trauma." Right.
Yeah.
I will eat death so I can eat this taco.
Yeah.
Okay, second question. Which characters from Silent Hill 4 would look at an abstract or otherwise non-photorealistic work of art and be like, whatever, I could do that. Why is this impressive? Blah, blah.
Definitely not Henry, because he loves the fucking photos in his room.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe Eileen would do this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have a good sense of what their people's opinions on art is. I guess like Walter has sort of an eye for the, he crucifies himself. It's sort of a theatrical guy.
Oh my god.
He,
You think he was just like, man, this looks so cool.
yeah, I
If I
think
put a
so.
cross on me, made it look like I had some feathers, like
Yeah,
oh
I think so. So I don't know if that means that he would be into it or just be like whatever about like a Rothko. I don't know.
mhm.
Um, because I feel like he's like a hot topic goth, which is like I don't know what a hot topic goth thinks about abstract expressionism. I don't have my hand on the pulse there. I feel like.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I think that's it. Thank you, Nina, for the delightful questions as always. Unless you have some other opinions about abstract art
No, that's pretty much it.
and these characters. Yeah.
All right, I'll read this one from Moss. Silent
Mm-hmm.
Hill for the Room is a confusing game the way it unsettles you with the room environment and how it is a place of safety in the first half of the game that slowly rots the player and itself in the second half. It is still unnerving. At the same time, it can be incredibly goofy with the with the burpy noise enemies. I fucking oh those enemies. Oh, I fucking hit them with a golf club and they went burp. I fucking lost my mind. Burping nurse
Yeah.
enemies and haunter wheelchairs, uh, and also incredibly frustrating with what they want you to do. The escalator, subway area. Horror video games have to strike a balance where they have to create tension and sense of dread via game mechanics to make the player wary and cautious. On one hand, the game might overcommit with the game mechanics and make the game become frustrating to the point where it breaks immersion, while on the other hand, if the game is not committed to building tension where the player has no struggle with dealing with the game throws at them, it can lose all tension that it built up with its atmosphere. There's no mechanical foundation to back it up. Don't really think that imbalance ruins the atmosphere, and everyone has their own threshold for what makes or breaks horror. And the question is, when does a horror game start falling apart? Is it inevitable, and does it matter? Um, I guess talking about the tension between, I guess the like friction between like being frustrating and also but also like creating tension within the
Yeah.
gameplay
I think
mechanics.
the big thing with Silent Hill 4 is just how much of it is feels outside of your control,
Hmm.
and that it's like almost like the stuff with Eileen is like the game not working properly, or sort of like it the introduction of a second player character basically introduces a lot of use cases that the game doesn't quite have a handle on,
Yeah.
and so it just doesn't feel fleshed out in the way. So I think that's part of it, is just that like the reason Silent Hill 1 through 3 didn't have this problem is in part just because it's like a lot more controlled. Like
Hmm.
the situations that you were put in are a lot more like straightforwardly, and you can kind of also like blame yourself basically for whatever happens. Like if you didn't have enough ammo, that's probably because you used too much earlier, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it does feel like there is stuff that is kind of not your fault and that the game is still going to punish you for, right?
Hmm.
And I think there was a quality of it that feeling unfair, I guess.
Yeah, and I will say I generally play these on easy, and I did it as well here, and it did not feel like an easy mode at all.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
actually like, because I played on normal as I usually do,
yeah.
and that's yeah,
Yeah, I am when I'm playing these games on easy with the other games, I'm usually able to plow through it. The game gives me a lot of ammo and health items for it to be it's just kind of silly that and I
yeah,
like that. As a point of this email, I don't need the mechanics to create tension. I I very I'm pro like being a video game tourist and experiencing the game on your terms, no matter
yeah.
how easy
Well,
it is.
I think also like with Silent Hill especially, at least for me, like the mechanical element has never been like that scary to me.
Yes.
And it is so much more that the atmosphere and the thematic stuff is so strong, and that it ties into that stuff, right? That's what makes it work for me. I guess I would be curious, like, maybe playing Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 on hard would, like, change something about those games. I would be, like, interested to try that out.
Yeah.
And maybe if I replay them, in the next few years, I will do that. But I also do think, like, even though, yeah, like, I play them on normal because I guess I have some interest in, like, seeing the, like, intended difficulty or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that ultimately has that much impact on, like, what I enjoy about the game,
Yeah.
But I do think the gesture is important. I guess this is the thing, is I think the gesture is more important than the follow-through when it comes to a lot of mechanical stuff in video games, at least for me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's like it matters that there is a gesture that resources are limited and that you have like a safe space to go to occasionally, and so that everywhere in the world is hostile to you. Like that, the sort of sheer mechanical truth of that is less important than that being like an element of the like, because that's also atmosphere, right?
Yes.
Like I've kind of been talking about like, oh, atmosphere is like graphics and sound and art, right? And of course it's those things, but atmosphere is also having limited ammo, right? And so it's like the gesture communicates that because that's how art works, right? It doesn't have to be more than the suggestion for it to follow through for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, and it's hard because I mean, we both are playing these games on deadline, and
Yeah.
um, my story earlier about like having a slither of health and getting through the building world in the second half, like, is only born out of being frustrated with the game and like uh having a
Yeah.
specific thing happen where I like ran out of healing items and stuff, and it's hard to sort of design for that. Um, and so a lot of it can be like happenstance. Um, and I think of like, and this is why like Idle Thumbs like is very into like immersive sim stuff that anything can happen because they can tell fun stories on podcasts, right? Um,
Right.
and I guess it's harder when you're working within like a narrative construct. That when you're telling a specific story, it's a little bit harder to design for that unless you, put in a second player character that you can't control and does weird AI stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me,
Well, I think that's sort of
yeah,
the thing is
good.
there's also such a harsh artificiality to that because even though Eileen can become like possessed or whatever, she will never die.
Yes.
Right. And so there's a weird, like, you have to protect her not because she will die, but because you need her in order to progress through the game.
Yeah.
Right. And that creates such a different kind of environment to
Yeah,
that
for
stuff,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like, again, that gesture matters, right? The gesture of Eileen dying might actually be important to, like, an idea, right? Even if, like, mechanically it wouldn't be that different whether she did or not,
Yeah. I mean, and she's still like, when she is possessed, she like stands in place and gestures around, and it's like, no, I'm trying to get to the next room, guys. Come on. Or like
Yeah.
when she takes damage, she has to like take a knee for like a few seconds and get back up.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's a pain when you have like a billion enemies on screen. And so that's stuff.
Yeah,
That's
I just
just,
think that like the simulation is just harder to keep up in like a reasonable way.
for sure.
And so I don't know, like I don't want to use like language of immersion because that's sort of I think that's kind of a fake idea
Yeah.
to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as a shorthand, it's fine. But like, but yeah, I just think that's sort of the thing is I think Silent Hill, and 4 to a large part also, right? Like all these are really good games in part because they are very interested in the gestures, right? They're, they are primarily thematic devices rather than game devices. Everything basically outside of maybe the puzzles, depending on the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Is a function of trying to create a certain tone and theme, right? And so I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think it works for me, even when it's silly.
Yeah.
And sometimes because it's silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's I'm thinking of the hard mode in Silent Hill 2, where if you put it on hard, you have to like row the boat with the two analog sticks back and forth,
Oh yeah.
which is like a baffling design decision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's harder now.
yeah, yeah. That's super funny.
But at the same time, you know what? I will say also, I miss stuff like this. I
Mhm.
miss like a major mainstream game coming out and having shit like you have to go constantly back to your room to rearrange your inventory, or you have this like lady who it's like very difficult to like control, quote unquote, right?
Yeah,
You know, like big swings like this are gone from games of this scale, and that is bad.
yeah,
You know, I think that is a bad thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Especially in the I they do the room conceit so well. Like
yeah.
day two of me playing this game is me looking around on my at my room in the same way I'm Henry and just being like,
Good
oh
luck,
god,
Dan.
like I'm noticing the shit that's in my room more.
Oh yeah, did you see like there's some fun stuff when you look out the window in the second half too. There'll be like a head or like a ghost will fall next to your window.
Oh, that's
or there's like
good.
the bunny like floating out somewhere.
That is
That's
good.
pretty cool.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
fun.
I think that's it for this episode. Oh, and you can send us questions.
Questions at
s-
spookygame.club.
That's exactly right. So yeah. So should we do plugs? And get out of here?
Well, next time
Oh yes.
I've actually been very uh indecisive as what I wanted to do next.
Okay, so actually I could well, go ahead.
I
Say your piece.
I think I want to do Nameless Game for the DS.
Okay. Okay. I'm down because I was thinking about DMing you about a different game entirely also than either of the games that we've talked about.
What did you have in mind?
Anatomy.
Oh,
Because it's kind of like this game.
fuck.
It has a similar thing going on, kind of.
Oh, that's good.
But I'm down to do Nameless Game, or Game with No Name or whatever. Which, for the record, is a DS exclusive horror game, about a video game.
How long is Anatomy?
It's like an hour. I guess we could do two.
We can do both if it's an hour. Because
Yeah.
Nameless Game is like
It's short.
4 hours on How Long to Beat.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Then we'll do Anatomy and Nameless Game. That's perfect.
That's great. All right, so next month we are doing Nanashi no Game, also known as Nameless Game. It is a Japanese horror game for the Nintendo DS. Not officially localized. There's a ROM hack that you can download and then put on your hacked 3DS because you know you have a hacked 3DS at home, like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to play it. I only saw like the intro and it looks very goofy and fun. I'm excited to play it. And then we are also going to play Anatomy by what's her name, Kitty Horror Show.
Kitty Horror Show. Yeah.
And you can find that on itch.io and I assume Steam, but probably just play it on itch. Fuck Steam. And yeah, we're gonna play those two. That's very exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, Anatomy is I haven't played Nameless Game before, but Anatomy's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Yeah, Anatomy is not on Steam for the record. I searched
Perfect.
it and I got 3D Organ on Academy,
Cool.
which is like a surgery simulation game question mark or like a body encyclopedia thing.
Perfect. Give independent creators your fucking money and buy it on itch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it. That's a podcast. Where can people find you online, Grace?
You can find me online on Twitter at Grace_machine. I forget. I think it's at Grace-machine
I can
on co-host.
I can find out for you.
Okay. And if you go to my website, graceinthemachine.com, and go to the About page that's right there, then you can see all the links to the public-facing social media stuff that I have. And I also have a Patreon at Grace in the Machine. Patreon.com/GraceInTheMachine. Those are the places you can find me.
You can find me on Twitter at BluestRose430 or on co-host with the same username. It is Grace-Machine for you, Grace, on co-host.
Right, thank you.
I will planning on using co-host more, maybe. And Twitter's still up at the time of recording. We'll see how it goes. I do want to use co-host more. I
don't know. The thing is I was like, Elon's, it's not going to be that bad. It's been pretty bad.
It's been pretty bad.
And so I don't want to be like, I doubt Twitter's going to, because I'm going to say that and make it happen, but we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah. And then you can find the podcast at podcast, Safe Room, I think. Is that what I did?
I think that's right.
I might make a co-host.
Yes, podcast Safe Room.
I might make a co-host page for us as well. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Until
that's
next
the
month.
Podcast. Mm-hmm.
See you later.
See ya.
Go through the hole.
So the hole got bigger.
Dance the waltz, they laugh, whispering hand in hand, just like children like to do. Their eyes, what are they looking for? White dress flutters their song, starting to make some sense. Only if you're listening. Dance, dance like butterflies. Shadows appear right before my eyes. Sound, echo the absurd. How to explain something insects and birds? Does the scent of soil and beast breathe a life into the animal?